bud.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing good. You?
Are you the interviewer?
Kind of.
Fantastic. What's your name?
Carl with a K, not a C.
Carl with a K. I'm Steve with an S.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you officially.
Nice to meet you too.
Now, we only have about one more minute, and I really wanted to ask you about the voice actor strike that's going on.
Yes.
Because we have quite the affinity for voice actors after many years in Star Wars weekends. So I'd kind of like to know the meat of what's going on and if there's anything that us fans can do or say about it.
Can you tell us more about the Performance Matters movement?
Yes, Performance Matters. This is a union issue. I'm a union member. SAG-AFTRA is our union. And we had to go on strike. We had to go on strike last week. And we were in negotiations for 19 months to get a new interactive contract. This is for video games only. And we were not getting any movement after 19 months, and we were asking for some very reasonable things.
Well, there are 4 points that we were trying to get written into the new contract. The contract hasn't been renegotiated in 20 years. My first priority personally was health and safety and vocal stress, because by contract we're supposed to be in the session for 4 hours, and they can have us screaming for that entire 4 hours.
Bingo! Showtime!
Which character do you do that's hardest on your voice? I know video game characters you can do a lot of lines over and over again.
Yes.
Which one is the hardest for you that takes the most recovery time afterwards?
Probably the one that took me the longest to recover was Wolverine. And, you know, I start him out here, but he doesn't stay there for very long. He gets angry really easily. So when you're going for 4 hours at a time, you start seeing pieces of your throat flying out. That's the other thing, right? I try to paint the picture. The other thing about Wolverine is that quite often he's fighting adversaries like the Hulk. And I remember when we were working on Hulk versus, on the movie Hulk versus Wolverine, Fred Tatasciore, who plays the Hulk, and I literally swing our arms as we're throwing every punch that you hear, we're swinging our arm doing that. And Fred's a big guy too, and they actually had to separate our microphones because they thought we were gonna knock each other out. And Fred sweats a lot too, and he had really long hair at the time, so he would go, ooh, smash, and the hair goes flying, and it's just a spray of Fred sweat. And I'm just drinking it in because I want his energy. He's awesome. But literally at the end of one of those battles, when I'm punching and slashing, I literally feel like I've metabolized all of that fighting effort, and I feel pain in my chest, I feel it in my back, all over my body. Everywhere that the Hulk has punched me, I feel like that has actually happened. And mentally, that's sort of a weird phenomenon that a lot of actors don't really address, but when you have to put yourself into that mental space, you do tend to materialize that in the body sometimes, and I do that very frequently. So I came out of those sessions just dragging and in pain and feeling like I needed that healing factor badly. Thank you.
Which has caused vocal cords to rupture, nodules requiring surgery, and there's really nothing contractually that protects us from that, so we wanted to get that written into the contract. We wanted to get language written in there to protect people who are doing performance capture by putting a stunt coordinator on set. It's not required right now, so that in some cases interns have been holding guy wires, suspending people from the ceiling, and it's dangerous.
I can tell you what the most terrifying moment I ever had to do on Star Trek. I had to jump off of a very high platform, and then I say to Captain Picard, as I recall, I'll handle this, or something like that, and I leap off of the platform and fly through the air and land on the ground. And she shoots me in the chest, but it doesn't hurt me because I'm dead. So I thought a stunt guy was going to do that. And by the way, I am personally terrified of heights. I don't like heights at all. I don't even like to stand up if I can help it. Sitting makes me woozy. I like to just lay down. But anyway, we went to do this, we did this shot on a soundstage. Easily this high, probably higher than this, don't you think?
With the rafters, absolutely.
Yeah. And they have catwalks and rafters, and they're really high and they put a harness on me, and they said, all right, we're going to take you up, and if you're okay, we're going to take you all the way up to the top, and then we're going to drop you. And I said, all right. So they took me up a little bit of the way, and I thought, oh, I hate this. I'm going to start screaming. I'm hysterical. And they brought me down, and they said, okay, now we're going to take you up a little higher. And I said, no, take me all the way to the top, and let's just do this, because I'll freak if you take me any higher. And, you know, so they said, all right. So they lifted me all the way up to the top of the ceiling. And what they didn't realize, and what I didn't realize, was because I was hanging on a rope that I would be swinging in the wind like that, you know? So they had to get a guy up on one of the catwalks with a pole to straighten me out, and that just never,
yes! I wasn't there.
So,
this is frightening.
Yeah. By the way, Jonathan was directing.
Was he?
Yeah. So,
was he laughing?
Well, he was trying not to. The stunt guys were all laughing. So anyway, they finally straightened me out, and they say, okay, we're going to drop you now. So I was like, let me just do that. And that helped, the fact that I had an acting task. Kind of got me out of me for a minute, and I became Data, and I would be fine. And I landed on my feet. And I was like, everyone applauded. It was a big, wonderful moment. And Jonathan came over, and he said, that was great. He goes, but we missed the shot. Can you do it again? And I had to do it again. Yeah. And if you look really closely at that film, somebody just wrote me the other day that they slowed it down when they saw it, and they saw it really was me. If you go real tight, you can see tears going down.
People could potentially die from that.
So it's really much more about, you know, good old-fashioned workplace safety than more money, which is what
which is my priority, really. Yeah.
You know, those kinds of issues were the most important things for me. There's a financial component in that also that's based on sales. So if they sell 2 million units, we get a little reward for that. And to my mind, that's a fair thing to ask for.
There is a money component in there also. One thing that sort of leads to that is a transparency issue, where in most cases we don't even know the title of the game that we're working on until after it comes out. And so not only do we not have the chance to prepare properly for the game, but our agents don't have the opportunity to negotiate in a meaningful way, not knowing what that project is going to be. If it's a $1 billion franchise, she might negotiate differently than if it's a franchise that sells 100 units. So we really want to try to get transparency in there. So that does affect the bottom line too. But the financial component is that we wanted secondary compensation, which is just a payment, a session fee, basically the same session fee that we get when we go in initially. Paid to us once a game sells 2 million units or more. So it's a shared profit strategy. It's really a win-win philosophy. We think it's a very, very fair deal. We've actually pared it down from a much higher number originally, and it's just sort of a basis for a new fair financial share of a highly profitable game.
So those are the kinds of things that we've been asking for over a year and a half, and they've just said no. All the way across. So we started doing a hashtag campaign called Performance Matters online, and we were just asking for fan support. If they care about vocal performances in games, we just wanted them to sound off and let them know, because in the negotiations, their lead negotiator actually looked at a room full of professional voice actors, looked us in the eye and said, you guys don't matter. You really don't matter, we can replace you.
What?
And you know, there's a 100,000 other people in the union that can do what you do just as well. And not everybody's a voice actor. You know, there's like maybe 250 people that do most of that work that have been doing it for their whole career. And to be slighted like that was just offensive to us. And the same guy who said that to us stood up immediately after the meeting was over and stuck his hand out and to Phil Lamar, who's one of the greatest voice actors and on-camera actors I know, and a dear friend. And he goes, dude, I'm a big fan of yours. Would you like to go to lunch sometime? After he just insulted us like that. So that's the reasons we're doing this, because there's just no respect at all. And so it's about respect and integrity more than anything else. And it's a contract that hasn't been renegotiated in 20 years. And I care about all the new voice actors that are coming in. I kind of make my own deal now, so a lot of what we're asking for, it doesn't really affect me. I only do screening sessions for 2 hours at a time. But there are so many voice actors out there, hundreds of them, that have to go in there and do whatever the directors tell them to do. And if they're told to scream for 4 hours, they'll scream for 4 hours until they're bleeding from the throat and require surgery, and sometimes don't recover from that. So we have to stand up. And so I'm sorry to take up time talking about that, but that is an important issue to us.
What can we do to help? You said there's a hashtag?
Well, yeah, we tweet about it every day. There's a lot of us, there's a lot of voice actors that you guys know and love who are part of this campaign, and we're constantly updating information. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So on my Twitter feed, you'll see me tweeting almost every day about it, and we just tag with the hashtag PerformanceMatters. And so if you guys, are compelled to say something, then great. If you're not, if it doesn't matter to you, that's fine too. But if these voices, if the voices that we provide for these characters make a difference to you, and if you think that we're not replaceable for this type of work, that helps if we can send it off and let them know that. So thank you so much for bringing me up. Yeah, appreciate it. Wow. That's a great question. You're Carl with a K, right? Hate to talk business of these things.
It's fine. We have about 5 minutes left, so if we want to try to... I know, it's going way too quickly.
Okay. Personal piece of advice I would give you is if you are planning to go into voice acting or any kind of entertainment, do it because you love it, not because you want to get rich or famous, because chances are neither of those will happen. Even if you do, if you don't love it, it doesn't matter. You have to love it first. And then the other piece of advice I would give you is that the audition is the job. If you are auditioning 100 times before you get a job, be grateful that you get to audition 100 times, because some people don't. And put everything that you have into that audition. And then if you get the job, it's just a happy surprise. Try to forget about it after you do it and let it go.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. The one other thing, and I know that we're running late on time, but the one story that I heard from a fan where I felt like what I was doing mattered happened in New Zealand years ago. I've told this story many times, but there was this big dude who looked like a Samoan guy who came up to my signing table, and he said that his autistic son, who at the time was 8 years old, was nonverbal to the point when he was 8 years old. He was sitting rock in the corner, and one day he bolted to the couch, and his attention focused on the TV, and the dad asked him what he was doing, and the boy looked over at him and he goes, shh. And it was the first response like that the boy had ever had to a question. And he just sat there and he watched him watching TV, and he didn't know what was going on. And at the end of the program, at the commercial actually, the little boy looked over at him in perfect English and said, "I like that, Daddy." And he had been forming these words and thoughts in his head for 8 years and not had a vehicle to speak them until he connected with Digimon and my character Guilmon specifically. And it unlocked something in his brain to the point where the family started watching it every day with him, and he started speaking perfect English with them. He started expressing his thoughts and feelings. And he became part of a community. His father got him involved in anime groups. The next day, he brought the little boy, who was now 12 years old at the time, to my signing line, and I saw like 20 people back, and I ran down there. I just stopped the line, I ran down there, and I stood with this giant man all tatted up, and this boy and his wife and his sister, and we hugged and cried for about 10 minutes because I felt like, oh my God, something I'm doing actually makes a difference to somebody out there. And that was the defining moment that I thought, okay, I'm doing something of value in the world, and it changed my life. And that's my primary focus for coming to conventions, is to have experiences like that with you guys. So thank you guys for filling up my heart.
Keep it going for Steve Blum, everybody.
The best host in the whole world. I didn't let her say 2 words until
I gotta sit here and listen. Are you going to your table now for signing?
No, I gotta get on a plane and go back to LA.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us here this weekend.
Yeah,
really
thank you for having
appreciate
me.
it.
And I'll be back in December for Holiday Matsuri in Orlando. Yeah, so if we didn't get a chance to talk here, we'll do it then.
Perfect.
Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Cheers.